Hello, everyone. Just a reminder, we're live on YouTube today, right now.
Thank you, Heidi. And to confirm, you'll be able to pull folks in from the webinar that are part of this meeting today that'll be presenting?
Absolutely. I did send them presenter invites, but I will also be able to pull in attendees.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Teresa, if you want to have everyone do introduce themselves, there we go. That would be great.
I'll do that. And is it helpful to have that information in chat as well? Or are you just okay with the verbal? Tell me your preference.
Verbal is perfect.
Okay, wonderful. We'll do that. We'll give folks a few more minutes.
And just a housekeeping issue, Teresa, Jesse Jager is joining us instead of Kristen Patton, I think.
And Jill Bonney.
And yeah, exactly. And Jill.
He's the POV rep.
Right.
Thanks for being here, Jesse.
No problem.
We'll probably give folks another couple of minutes to get on and to join us.
I believe it's Margaret who's coming in on the phone, and she has been promoted to speak too.
Greetings.
Welcome, Margaret. We're just waiting a few more moments for folks to join us, and then we'll get started with introductions.
Okay.
Heidi, do you know if Jenny and the mayor will be joining us?
Yes, as far as I know, they're both attending. You know, I'm not sure who Margaret Foll is.
I'm not a panelist, just an attendee. So I was promoted to panelist though, so I'm not sure.
Okay, I can, we'll take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where did she go?
Heidi, I do have a technical question. When we do get to the public comment portion, if folks that are watching do want to have public comment, are we asking them to raise their hand and then you promote them, or how do we do that under this new platform?
I think, yeah, that's the easiest way. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Hello, Mayor Ingen.
Hey, Teresa. How's everybody?
Good over here.
Good.
We're just giving folks another minute and then we'll get started.
Ginny was just in my office asking whether I was in. So apparently she's been banished.
What?
No,
It's
she
okay.
knows to help or ask Jessica, our IT person in the office, if she has troubles.
Jess is in there right now, Heidi.
Okay, thanks, John.
I can't hear the judgment, but I can sense it from.
So while we're still waiting to get started, I have to give a public shout out to Heidi as one of our new certified mental health first aiders. Heidi completed the 8-hour course this morning. So congrats to Heidi for being certified in mental health first aid.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
it was great to have you in class, Heidi.
It was good. It was a really good class.
Okay,
Was
so
that-
let's, oh, go ahead.
Was that because of me, Heidi? Is that why you?
Yeah, you're the troublemaker, John. No, I'm kidding.
I get that. I get that.
It's because 1 in 5 adults will experience a mental health disorder in any given year. So it's very, very common. So Heidi's doing it for herself, her family, people around her. So that's the diplomatic response, Mayor Ingen. It's not about you. Lots of people struggle with mental health.
That they do.
Mhm. Well, I was kind of waiting for Ginny to get on. I think some people might join us a little bit later. Officer Gilhouse is planning on being here. I'm not sure about Linda McCarthy.
As far as I know, Linda was going to join us.
Okay.
Yes. Elizabeth Marshall, I know, is not.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone's time and for being here. So I think we'll go ahead and get started and others can join us as time allows on their ends. So welcome everyone to the Mayor's Downtown Advisory Commission. My name is Teresa Williams and I facilitate these meetings, and it's a pleasure to see all of you here today. As Heidi had mentioned, we are live on YouTube right now. So we do have some folks joining us in virtual land. So happy to see that there are folks interested in this meeting and the updates that we'll have for folks. Let's go around and do introductions. There's Ginny. Let's go ahead and start with Mayor Ingen and Ginny and you guys, and then we'll all call on folks and we'll go around the Zoom room.
I'm John Ingen, Mayor of the City of Missoula.
I'm Ginny Merriam, Communications Director of the city.
Thank you. And Heidi, do you want to introduce yourself too, please?
Sure. I'm Heidi Bakula. I am the executive assistant in the mayor's office.
Thank you, Heidi. And how about Dan?
Sorry, is it okay? No, go.
I didn't unmute myself. I'm sorry. I'm Dan Cedarberg. I'm a commission member and a local attorney.
Great to see you, Dan. Thanks for being here. And Jesse.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jager, Director of Development and Advocacy for the Poverello Center, he, him pronouns.
Thanks, Jesse. And how about John Petroff?
John Petroff. I am the Mobile Support Team Operations Manager.
I had to emphasize Petroff, not Ingen, since we've got 2 Johns on here. How about Mark?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mark Wayne. I'm a practicum student with the fire department and the crisis intervention team.
Thank you, Mark. And Sue.
Hi, I'm Sue Wilkins. I'm the Executive Director of Missoula Correctional Services.
And Margaret joining us from the phone.
I'm Margaret Borg. I'm a retired attorney.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. And I forgot to mention, I too am from the Missoula Fire Department and oversee the Crisis Intervention Team program. Okay, so next on the agenda is to entertain any public comment. So those folks that are joining us, please raise your hand and let us know if you have any public comment, and Heidi will allow you to unmute and yeah, let us know.
looks like we're good to go.
Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to reviewing and approving the minutes from our May 18th meeting. So I would like to, anyone want to make a motion for those approval of the minutes?
I would move to approve.
Thank you, Dan. And how about a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thumbs up. Wonderful. Okay, thank you, Heidi, as always, for taking those minutes. Now we're going to move into current issues updates. And so we've got an update here for the emergency winter shelter. Ginny, Miriam, and Jesse Jager will be providing that update, followed by an update regarding the mobile support team. And then if Officer Gilhouse joins us, he'll also provide an update on the Business Improvement District Downtown Association and what he's seeing on the streets. And then we can also, then we'll do a roundtable of any other downtown issues, and we'll go from there. So let's start with Jesse, Ginny. Who wants to go first?
Hey, Ginny, you're the one that's on the agenda for this. Do you want to start? I'm good filling in gaps. I don't, what makes sense for you? You're muted, Ginny.
I'll tell the breaking news part and then you can talk about operations. Does that seem good?
Sounds good.
So I think probably most of you already know that we are doing an expanded emergency winter shelter at the Johnson Street Community Center, which is a building that the city owns at the corner of Johnson and North Avenue. Again, this year, we had thought last year would be a one and only time because of COVID and the Poverello Center having to operate at half capacity. But obviously, we still have COVID. Poverello Center is still at half capacity and is already turning people away on some nights. So we will open the emergency winter shelter on November 1st. We will have our, it'll be run by our contractor, the Poverello Center. We're having an open house for it, and I encourage you all, if you have interest in it, to please come Thursday evening, day after tomorrow, from 4 to 7 p.m. We just want people from the neighborhood to be able to come in and look around and ask questions. We have done a significant outreach and communications around the shelter this year, like we did last year. We did a very large mailing of more than 4,000 businesses and residences in the neighborhood. We did a neighborhood meeting, and we'll do this open house this week. We have an Engage Missoula page up called Safe Shelter, and everything about Johnson Street is there too. We are paying for it in partnership with Missoula County and Human Resource Council with an emergency grant. And I'll let Jesse talk about the operation.
Yeah, so the Poverello Center will be operating the emergency winter shelter. We will be opening next Monday on November 1st in the afternoon to start the shelter up. And it'll operate 24/7 out of the Johnson Street facility. We'll be providing a hot meal a day there, as well as access to sack lunches. There'll be shower facilities and laundry facilities there for guests throughout the winter, and it will be staffed 24/7 by Poverello staff. We've been working hard to get everybody hired for that. We feel confident that we have enough staff now to be able to open on the 1st. That was a little bit of a question mark. We've got about 16 of the 30 staff that we're going to need to sustainably staff the shelter. But we're hopeful with some of the incentives, hiring incentives and things that we're doing, we're going to be able to fill up that roster of 30 individuals so that the staffing can be sustainable throughout the winter. I guess some just changes from last year in terms of operations. Some of the bigger ones I think are going to include the some fencing that's going to be going on around the parking lot area that's on the North Avenue side of the building. That'll help us do a little bit of containment of who's coming and going out of that area where clients will be. We will have the city is contracting with security for the neighborhood area. I'll let them talk more about that. That's their contract. That's pretty much it. I mean, I think that the big success of last year's winter shelter is that no one died of exposure that was experiencing homelessness in our community. And I think that was largely because we stood up the emergency winter shelter when we needed it. And our hope is that we can replicate that again this year and help keep our most vulnerable neighbors alive during these coldest months. Our HOT team is working really hard right now to encourage folks that are out in encampments to come into shelter when it opens on the 1st, which is, of course, what we did again last year. And our hope is that we will get as many people as possible into shelter, or they'll access services in some of the other shelter authorized encampment spaces that exist in other parts of the community. I think that's really it. We've been turning actually people away all summer long. That's pretty much a regular occurrence. We'll be staffed at 88, or we'll be, the main shelter will be at 88 people. There is no anticipated change in that recommendation from the CDC really anytime soon. As we all know, COVID is still largely out of control in our community, and until that's reined in, we're likely to be at this posture. I'd also add that the economic consequences of COVID have been severe and have really hit people at the kind of the margins of our economic society. And so we're expecting at the Poverello Center that we're going to be in a crisis posture around homelessness for quite some time. I don't know if people have questions or if that's part of the process here.
Folks have any questions? Ginny, anything else you want to elaborate on, or Jesse, that we might have missed?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Sounds good. Earlier, we were talking about mental health first aid, Heidi coming through that course, and we are doing that with the security folks that are coming through as well, and ensuring they get at minimum 8 hours of that mental health first aid too, and working with this population. So, okay. Seeing no other questions, let's move it over to John Petroff.
Good afternoon. So I usually have long-winded stuff. Fortunately, with the downtown area, most of the time, what the clients we're working with are, associated a lot of times with the Poverello Winds of Change in that area. We work closely with those two agencies and the BID officers. So, we have went to a lot of times solo dispatching to those areas, especially if we know the client. So a lot of times we're not engaging with law enforcement right now, which has been a positive change for us. Poverello has been calling, on our phone, which we only have that really with them. For other places, we're still asking that they call through 911. It's just we have a system in place that works well with them right now. Working on that communication and finding roles is always a tough part, but we feel with HOT team and BID and all of the players with that movement of the camp outside of the Poverello, we were able to take a position of not being as engaged in that and being on standby for a crisis that happened. And in my opinion, it worked really well for us not being the ones to move people on, and it worked really well. And I think we're starting to find our place in this whole system. So that's great as well. And then, we're looking at expanding the team right now. So we're expanding the team, hiring a couple EMTs and a couple clinicians. So our hope is that we will be available for more times throughout the day, and also have more teams on the street more often. So that's really all I have for an update for this group, unless there's specific questions for me.
I have a question. I want to be sure because I'm afraid someone's going to ask me this at the open house on Thursday. I thought the only way to get the team to respond was with law enforcement. Is there a way that the general public can call for that support without having police officers come with you?
Not well. So we are still a co-response unit, and so
Okay.
EMS, fire, and law enforcement will be dispatched. What we're doing now is, because we listen to those calls, and our communication with law enforcement is there, we're able to triage that. So we're able to triage that between law enforcement, dispatch, and the team to see if that's something that we can do. And a lot of time, our familiar faces, we know it's a familiar client that we're working with, and so we're able to cancel law enforcement from going on that. And then with communications and training, we're starting to get like some of these agencies like Poverello that is utilizing us. They're able to call dispatch and talk to them and make sure that there's safety stuff in place. So there's a lot of that training happening right now as well. Really utilizing like that CIT model and starting to develop into that for the entire system is what we're looking at.
Mhm.
And Jesse, we've had security at POV for how long?
I believe that started a week and a half ago. So it was not this weekend, but the weekend before is when it got started.
What are you seeing on the ground there?
You know, my understanding is that it's largely been positive. My offices are actually at Johnson Street, so I'm not a day-to-day person in that main building right now. But from what we're hearing from staff is the interactions are going well with the security teams, and yeah, in general, it's operating as it should.
Good.
And Mayor, I would add the cohort of security folks that came through this 2-day training. I had to set aside my preconceived notions of a security firm because they showed up and they really, really seem to have empathy and understanding for this population, and that we know that a lot of folks that are experiencing homelessness have experienced trauma and have a lot of, complex things going on. And so they really surprised me in that they, their approach and their mindset. So I think I can see that having a positive impact. And so it's great to hear Jesse's positive report too. And we also offered if they are having any reoccurring, troubles with certain folks that are experiencing significant mental health issues, they kind of know the CIT process and bringing those folks to our attention. So we can make sure that we follow up and that we tag in John's team and from partnership and his EMTs, and we can notify Officer Gilhouse and other CIT officers to support those folks.
That's terrific. Thank you.
Other questions? Sue, I know, and I'm putting people on the spot. Dan, do you feel like folks in your realms know how to utilize mobile support team or are willing to utilize mobile support team? Just curious how that's happening downtown and in your spheres.
I don't think they are aware of it. I know there's been news coverage and I've seen the news coverage and everything. But generally speaking, no, I don't think they're aware of it. The two comments that I have heard, one is that the security is well received, the fact that you're doing that to try to deal with the impacts on the neighborhoods. I've had positive comments about that. The negative comment that I've had is the use of the word temporary. Not most, but I've heard a lot of folks say they shouldn't call it temporary because we all know it isn't. And I, as a PR thing, I would suggest you don't put the word temporary in your heading. you explain that it's based on the COVID situation and the lack of ability and just do the explanation, but don't call it temporary, because I think you lose credibility. I've heard that with regard to the Johnson Street facility and also the facility out on the river.
We've heard that too, Dan, and we were really careful in our communication about Johnson Street to say, we thought last year it was a one-time only thing. We still have the pandemic, and now we're not predicting what's going to happen. What if we have the pandemic next winter too? We don't even know.
Right. I think you need to do that, because I do think you lost credibility on that issue. With a lot of people said it to me, initially said, oh, it's not temporary. And then when you re-upped it again out on the river, and now Johnson Street again, saying, see, we were right, they're lying to us. And I've heard that. I've heard that numerous times. And so I think you have to change that.
Yeah, we're not saying it anymore about
Good.
Johnson Street. Well, actually, no one has asked me. So is this going to happen next year? I do get the question, are you trying to make this into a permanent homeless shelter? And the answer to that is no at Johnson Street.
And I think you have a credibility issue when you give that answer. A lot of people that I talk to think you're doing exactly the opposite of that it is going to be permanent. And I don't exactly know how you address it more than what you're trying to do, but it is a common perception among the folks I talk with.
And I can say from the Poverello's perspective that we have no interest in operating a permanent facility at the Johnson Street facility. We have shoestrung it into being a useful space for what we need it to be. But there are lots of issues that need to be addressed, and we need to work as a community to keep on working towards what our more long-term solutions will be around winter shelter. I think we're waiting, in a couple of years, we'll have the Trinity project, and our hope is that will have some impact on that thing. And then there's other issues that we'll probably need to address in terms of the long-term solutions here. But the Johnson Street facility, I think our organization and our leadership believes has a much higher use. We would love to see, affordable housing and that sort of thing around here, because that's what we desperately need as a community to get people truly housed. Because the answer to homelessness is actually a home. It's not necessarily shelters.
Well, and I that's very well said. And I think maybe Ginny, you might include that in some of your communications regarding Johnson Street and the opening and everything. I think that message that you just gave would be helpful in communicating with as to what's going on.
Thank you. And I hope we can all be ambassadors of that message and pointing folks to the Engage Missoula webpage and the factual answers. If people do have questions, send them to the appropriate folks. Yeah. Sue, did you have any comments, questions?
Well, you were asking if I thought our officers were familiar with how to gain access to the mobile crisis team. And I'm guessing that they could use some more education on that. I mean, they, deal directly like with the POB, and I'm sure have good information and have knowledge about the Johnson Street. So in terms of the housing thing, I think that they've got that down. And our pre-release staff, we deal with a number of mental health issues, and we do that directly. We've had a number of cases recently that have resulted in us needing to get people into the hospital setting. But I think our officers could probably use some more. We've gone through some staffing changes too, so that's another piece of that. I'm very interested, Teresa, in your mental health first aid, and I'd love to get information from you on that. you know, the officers that have been with us for a while and those probation and the pretrial program, I think all of them have gone through the CIT training, you know, so they have that kind of understanding. It's just expanding on some things. I think that would be great. And the new people that we have. So if you can send that my way, I'd appreciate it.
Would be happy to do so. I have a course coming up at the detention center next month, and I'm looking for folks. So, yep.
Very good. There you go.
Thank you, Sue. And with that, I'm just wondering, like, would that help if John were to follow up with you, John Petroff?
Certainly, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would just be it would be nice to be able to have some real clear guidelines on, you know, they would call 911 and they would get a response in some fashion at some point, you know, but if there's other ways to do that and work with you closer and have a better understanding, that'd be terrific.
Mm-hmm.
I will reach out and put you on my list.
I just like creating more work for folks. That's my job. No.
As I'm sitting here with 2 computers going at once, you know.
Yes.
Teresa, you're mean.
Say that again.
You're mean.
Yeah.
Well, and I just have to say, I was just thinking, being a 15 and a half year veteran of MDAC and its previous permutation, it's kind of amazing everything that we have accomplished as, I mean, all the agencies and associations working together in the last 15 years. The resources that we have now that we did not have before, you know, we have much better panhandling laws. We're going to have a larger municipal court with more judges, and we hope more jail diversion kinds of things to divert people to. We have CIT, we have mobile support team. We just have so many options now that just flat out were not available 15 years ago. So I think we have to keep taking the long view of our accomplishments.
I completely agree. And I appreciate having these updates and ensuring that MDAC members are up to speed and yeah, how we can clarify and ensure that accurate information is getting out there and having those resources to refer people to, because you're right, there have been a lot of successes. One of which is trying to get into this meeting, and welcome, Linda. Heidi, Officer Gilhouse is able to get on, but he can't find the link. I'm not sure if you could help shoot him a quick email.
Sure, I'll do that.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think Linda and I can help set him up for his update. He's not officially on the agenda, but I think it's very relevant that he give an update on on his program and what he's doing in the downtown area. Before he gets here, I'll just provide a little update on the pilot program. I'm just going to keep calling it a pilot because we're learning every single year. But this is the practicum students that are housed. I supervise them, and then they're placed with the downtown officers. And it's timely, a train is coming by. My apologies. So this year we were able to officially name the program. It's called the Wellness and Resource Access Program. So WRAP are the initials, WRAP. John is making fun of me because he thinks that's a moment to act like he can rap. On the meeting today, we have 2 of our practicum students. We have a total of 3. 1 is from Walla Walla, 2 are from the University of Montana. And so we've got Mark Wayne here and Charisma Roof, and they are part of the week. They are actually joining the case facilitator from the mobile support team, one of the case facilitators. And so they're doing outreach. His name is Doug. He was my former practicum student last year. That was with Jay and Randy at the time. And then the other part of the week, we're looking at bringing them together. We kind of spread them out, but we're looking at having them pair up on Wednesdays. And they take referrals directly from Officer Gilhouse. So they have my explicit instructions that nobody else can refer. They just have to take those referrals from Officer Gilhouse. And what we're noticing is that a lot of these folks that come up on Officer Gilhouse's radar are usually those folks that are pre I don't know how much folks know about the FUSE program, it's frequent utilizers of systems engagement. And these are folks that come up very frequently in our CIT meetings. And frankly, they're just folks that keep falling through the cracks of this system. And so Mark and Charisma are working with them, enrolling them in the program. And we kind of have a 90-day window of time to connect these folks to permanent services, to housing, whatever that is. So we're excited to launch that. And again, we're in the 3rd year and we continue to expand the number of students and keep the ball rolling and building that program. I don't know if Mark or Charisma want to say anything, but I'm waiting for Jay Gilhouse to get here. Any comments or how your experience is so far?
I just jumped in on this because I was on a call from Jay. So yeah, it's been pretty exciting so far. Yeah, just doing a little work here and there and getting the ball rolling for some folks. So
thanks, Charisma. Mark?
Yeah, I would echo that. I think things are definitely coming together and we're finding a good rhythm and yeah, helping connect some people to some resources that they need.
So that is the WRAP program. Linda, I'll turn it over to you if you want to give any updates from your conversations with Officer Gilhouse or anything else relating to the downtown area.
Sure. I just got a call from Jay. He didn't get the link, so I forwarded it to him, and I don't know where he's at, but there he is.
There he is.
So, yeah, Jay has been one of our downtown police officers for about a year now. He's been working the beat alone since we lost Randy Crostel to a school officer position. You know, we haven't had any additional applicants for that job. And, you know, from my perspective, sometimes it feels like that's a lone wolf job, even though that's not really what we want. I think it's been really helpful for Jay and Randy before him to have social work practicum students. I think it both provides, you know, support and somebody to talk to, bounce ideas off, and somebody to help navigate some of the things that people are needing to navigate. I think there's value in continuing that. And if you're a social work student, I can't imagine this wouldn't be an amazing opportunity to really engage with public issues that we have. You know, downtown is doing as well as can be expected. Of course, the pandemic has been very difficult for a lot of businesses, and, you know, outside of sort of the topics of this committee, it's really hard to hire people right now. But, you know, we're not getting a lot of complaints about people not feeling safe. And Jay has been super responsive to anything that's needed from, you know, customers, 911 calls, business owners, property owners, et cetera. So I'm going to park here. And Jay, it would be great if you could jump in. And so sorry that we didn't get you the link appropriately, but Teresa would love for you to give an update.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I am late. It was partially because I was tied up on a call for service, and the other part was I couldn't figure out how to get into it. So I do apologize for being late. I came in with Mark giving an update, and then I heard you guys got an update on the practicum students. Working with them, for me and my perspective, it's been great. It gives me access to a lot of really easy resources, and the contacts that we're making in the community and putting them in touch with is very helpful and needed in this community. And they're not lacking jobs and work to do to get some people in the community in touch with some resources to help them with whatever their particular circumstances might be. So it's been really great working with them and having them as a resource to use in that. Other things that I've been working on, I've been working with the city and other city officials in streamlining some communication, ensuring that we are able to provide appropriate outreach to certain areas of town, and where camps or where people experiencing homelessness are establishing their permanent residents to try to prevent them from growing into being a health hazard or a public safety hazard. We had a lot of success clearing out a large tent encampment a couple of months ago, and I think that really showed how effective and how necessary using these outreach, whether it be the homeless outreach team, the CAT, the practicum students, stuff like that, to be able to provide the necessary communication to the population, advising them of what the city's intentions are before it turns into an enforcement scenario in law enforcement where we have unnecessary incidences that have popped up in the past. We've been very successful with that. And I really appreciate the help and support we've gotten from the city to help establish kind of these new protocols and guidelines on that. I'm trying to think of anything else that I missed. I am kind of scrambling to say something because I feel like I'm late and was playing catch up, but that's about all I've got. Things are going quite well downtown and it's going great.
Linda, you're back on mute.
Sorry, thanks. It's my assumption that the majority of the calls that we're getting are in that West Broadway corridor area. Not a lot of calls in the core of downtown. I'm not sure how we will fill the second position. You know, like others around town, the PD is also short-staffed. So, you know, right now we have service 4 days a week and Jay's working the beat alone. So again, having social workers is helpful, but we still have a big gap to fill as far as that second position.
Thank you. Do folks have any questions about BID? Go ahead, Sue.
So I guess it's a question. It's also a comment, but my daughter and her friend took the path, the walking path from like the mental health center complex down all the way to the university recently. They kind of bypassed, what is it, the Silver Gate? Is that the right words? Park, because they know that some of that can be bad. But she was really surprised at how many hidden camps were along the way. And I don't know, I'm guessing you're aware of those things, but, and she's, I was a little perturbed that she went the way she did because she took my brand new granddaughter with her. But anyway, she just said, and she's a social work background, okay? And she was just surprised that there were so many hidden encampments back in there. So I just thought I'd comment and ask if, is that true? Is that kind of where things have kind of shifted a little bit, or, has contact been made with those folks? I mean, I'm guessing somebody's talked with them, but that's
Is it along the ditch where the ditch is? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
I honestly can't say I know, but I mean, she felt it was pretty much all the way down in different spots in there. It would make sense that a lot of it would have been closer to the university area because there's a lot of more spots, I think, to hide in there. But she felt there was the attempt to hide them, of course. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's my comment, I guess. I'd have to ask her for more specific. And she, like I said, she didn't go down like by where the shelter was, is, and along the pathway there on the river, because she has known that there can be issues there. But anyway, there you go.
So I will add that, yes, there has been a increase of camps and people camping both along the river as well as along the bike path, the Milwaukee Trail. And these camps are known to us. A lot of effort has been made to communicate with social workers and like the homeless outreach team and any other appropriate resource to direct them towards those as we identify these camps as they pop up. The goal is we understand that camping in the city is happening right now. We're hoping we're going to be able to curb that problem a lot easier here, starting, I believe, next week when the Johnson Street shelter opens up. But our main concern is safety and for the community, as well as, safety as well as health concerns. And as these camps grow and they start accumulating trash and stuff like that, they're going to start getting more attention from us. Our goal is to prevent somebody from being able to be in one spot for any extended period of time, which we know that it's happening. So the best thing that we can try to do is keep them moving around. In some areas of town, we're having success in doing that. In other areas, we are not, but there is a lot of contact with these individuals. There is a lot of effort to send resources out to them through outreach and stuff like that. So we are very well aware of it. Actual incidences that stem from these camps or the people from these camps are pretty minimal. But the biggest impact that they have are the fact that they're seen and the trash and the health and safety concerns of the neighborhood. But yeah, we are aware of it. We're hoping to be able to curb it a little bit better once we have a shelter and hopefully a place to to send these individuals. But that is one of the biggest topics in the community that we are all working on.
And Sue, I would
I
just,
don't want you to think there was any criticism in here. I'm well aware that you guys have been working hard for a long time, okay? I've been part of this group as part of that for a long time. I was just surprised to hear it was part of where she was seeing it, I guess.
They're kind of spread out. They're spreading out in parts of town that we haven't typically seen that before. That's just kind of what we're seeing right now.
mm-hmm.
And none of that was taken as a criticism. That was just my letting you know that we are aware.
I know the hard work you guys are doing. I don't envy you at all. Yeah.
No, and I think it goes back to what Jesse was saying earlier, and that the pandemic and, they're having to decrease the number of beds, their capacity. A lot of folks have been living economically on the edge already, and this just pushed it over. And while safety and sanitation is a huge piece of this, we also recognize the displacement and constantly moving around people is adding more stress on people that are experiencing homelessness. And so I think looking at both sides of these, no one is enjoying this on both ends. And so, we're hoping there's that relief with the Johnson Street shelter and the other efforts. And we've got more housing coming down the line and more support. So yeah, it's complicated. It's really complicated.
I want to reflect back to what was said a little bit earlier from Ginny. When we started this group, we were talking about homeless people as a group, and we were trying to address everything as a group. And it's people like Teresa Williams and Jesse Yeager and our police officers that have really helped us understand the other side of the spectrum, the perspective of the homeless people, the value of, really building trust and trying to address the needs one by one by one. And, over the course of the last couple of years, and I don't know what the numbers are, but it's somewhere probably around 30 or 35 people that we have individually gotten out of homelessness and into housing or into services or, whatever that need was. But, like a lot of things, it's really hard to communicate the collective to all of our media and get the sort of, media coverage that we think we deserve. It just is a negative story after negative story. And I don't know how we flip that around.
That is the question. Yeah. Well, and earlier, Linda, you missed it too. I was just saying how this group for sure, like we're all the ambassadors. And I hope that, when we are hearing things that we know might be different, or there's other sides to it, or there's more perspective, then hopefully as part of this commission, we can help kind of, change that narrative. Yeah. And I look at the communication specialist. Anything else, Ginny, on that end from MDAC that we can do? Or I'm a solutions oriented person, so I just can't let a question hang.
No, I was going to ask, especially maybe Linda and Dan, about how we could do better at getting information. Well, and Sue, Britt, you all three said, no, I don't think people are familiar with all the programs. What's the avenue to give people information?
So we're embarking on a couple things. One is, Jay just wrote a column to go out in our BID newsletter.
Oh, good.
Talking a little bit about, resources and what his work looks like. We do have our membership luncheon on November 9 at the Union Club, and we do have some of the programs that we're talking about presenting at that luncheon. But for me, it's really about the media. Everybody's getting news from so many different channels. It's really hard, and this, Ginny, as well as anybody. It's really hard to get the right message out to the community because we can't rely on our journalism partners as much as we used to be able to. And their perspective is not always the same as our perspective. I welcome other input there.
Well, I'm sorry I raised the problem and don't have a good suggestion. I mean, like I said, the media coverage of it, but I guess I just don't know the folks around around the pod where it seems like we have more incidents. And geez, I'm sorry, I don't have a good idea as to how you can do it any better than you have been.
I feel like the homeless outreach team is doing a lot of good work because they're going around to places and passing out, information. I feel like in general, our downtown community has a pretty good sense of the homeless outreach team. Of course, the crisis intervention team, the mobile intervention team are kind of new, and, we don't have a face to go with that. But, I feel like generally our downtown businesses are well aware of our policing and our homeless outreach team.
So you said something, about Linda, about, how there's been like 30 families that have been housed along the way. And, I found myself thinking if some of those families would be willing to talk about what they went through and the help that they got from some of these different entities along the way, and now where they're at, those kinds of stories can be really powerful. We do that periodically at the legislature with pre-release offenders and whatnot. Here's this person, here's what they've gone through, here's the treatment that they've received, and here's where they're at now, kind of thing. I don't know if I know there's confidentiality, and it would be a matter if any of those families were willing to say, if it hadn't been for these programs that took place, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So just some thoughts there.
Yeah, thank you, Sue.
It's a good idea.
And to be clear, a lot more people have been housed in the city of Missoula. This is just referencing the downtown and working with officers, correct? Just what I'm
Yes.
sure. Okay.
Yes.
Lots more people are getting out of the situation. Yeah, I think those are all great ideas and great solutions.
I know you guys hear this too, but one of the things that I'm hearing pretty regularly right now, and it's kind of in that community narrative, is around the 10-year plan to end homelessness and what a failure that is, which we know, when you're in it, that's not a failure. But, and I know that we've done some work to, sort of report back out. I think we're coming up on the 10-year. I think we need to develop some metrics that we can release as a fact sheet or, a PR campaign. What have we accomplished in the 10-year plan to end homelessness, and how do we measure that success?
I agree with Linda. I think that's a good idea. I think people see, like Sue's daughter, they think, well, how are things going? And their judge of how things are going is a walk down the path. And so they think, boy, this stuff is a failure. So the metrics don't get out there. And I, at one point, tried to look at what I would call a livability index, kind of a thing. We did some research. We even looked at, engaged some folks at the university, and there really isn't one. And that would be, how many homeless do we have now? How many incidents do we have of people reporting being negatively accosted, all kinds of things. And we weren't able to come up with a metric. And I think if you could do that, and then you'd have some verifiable thing to refer to when people say, yeah, this is a failure. But we didn't find, I thought when we started looking for it, that it would have been done before, but we could not find that. And so it was a matter of inventing a new tool, and we didn't, it didn't go beyond that. That was a task too far, I guess, but maybe it's something we should revisit.
There is perception in our community that homelessness is way worse today than it was 10 years ago. And, when I engage in a conversation around that, what I talk about is how, the homelessness used to all be downtown. We had a Poverello Salvation Army food bank all located in the core of downtown. We have since, in the last 15 years, built new facilities for each of those frontline service providers. We've spread those facilities throughout the community at different locations. We've implemented Zero Fare Mountain Line, which allows, everyone, including our homeless population, to access all of the community. And what has happened is our homeless population has spread out throughout the community. It's not all concentrated downtown. So, it used to be, oh, that's downtown's problem. You got a problem. I'm not going downtown. And now it's like, oh, we got a big, wide community problem. And, it's way worse than it used to be. And I think if you were to graph the annual counts, you'd probably see a significant decline. I think if you were to graph, homeless people that have got into housing, it would probably rise. Homeless people who got into treatment, I think would rise. Homeless people who we got a bus ticket to go home, I'm guessing would rise. And then I think you could track, you could really do a brief on each of the new programs that we've established, and we've talked about them, every time we meet. But, we've created a lot of programs, including the Housing Trust Fund, to help address these issues. So I think there's an opportunity to really take that plan and, build out the results of our work, our collective work over the last 10 years, or maybe it's even longer, but, data and graphs, I think, could really tell a story that our community is not aware of today.
As the former Reaching Home coordinator, I would love to say we do have the data. And I think Emily Armstrong, who's been, in that role now, she's really trying to put that out there and make sure we have those charts and graphs. And I think it would be great if we invited her next time to really report out on that and let us know how she's doing with that. And I'm wondering, Ginny and Mayor Engen, was there any support in terms of helping with the communication aspect of all of that and reporting out? Because I know that was always a struggle for me, and doing the work and then also communicating at the same time.
There is, to some extent. I mean, of course, the Engage pages have helped us a lot because we have a place to send people. I was just thinking regarding the municipal elections, we've heard a lot of, oh, the 10-year plan to end homelessness. Well, that's a dud. You didn't end it. And I've been aware that we're coming up on that 10 years, and I think that's going to be a great opportunity for me to work with Emily on doing just that kind of metrics presentation. When I've tried to do those before, it ends up that the data are very squishy. I mean, not only can we never say what people, well, we never are able to say what people want to hear. How many homeless people are there in Missoula? Well, we can't actually say. How many people have you housed? Maybe we could arrive at that looking at multiple agencies. I mean, we can certainly do something. As far as the veracity of the data, I don't know how far we'll get with that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, all the agencies are coordinating and putting their data into one place, but you still have those folks that, you know, are more hidden and they're couch surfing, they're staying with family. And so that's where people aren't lining up and saying, count me, you know, and so I think we have to think about all those pieces. And so you're right, it is squishy, but I think there are some things that we can communicate. And so I think it would be great if we had Emily come and provide a report out of how things are going and what she's doing on the 10-year plan and what that communication strategy looks like. And maybe we could have her come with some visuals and what she can talk to us about.
And Teresa, I could see, you know, if we could get some sort of a package of some kind, you know, maybe it's a one-sheeter, we can incorporate it into our communications.
Yeah.
You know, Ginny can incorporate it into some sort of a press release that goes out to local media. You know, maybe you'd get the chamber to, you know, share that information. I don't know, but, you know, just reporting at an MDAC meeting, and don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's not enough to get the word out to the community as a whole. You know, we need to do more.
Yeah, I agree. This was a wonderful dialogue today, everyone. Thank you so much to our guest presenters for being here and for everyone sharing and providing solutions and ideas. Heidi, can you remind us of our next meeting, please? Because I didn't write it down.
Certainly, it will be on, let's see, do I have it in my notes? You know, I can email it out. I don't have it. It's on the agenda, but I can't see the part where
I didn't see it on the agenda. I have it in front of me.
Let me see.
That is A-okay. We'll send out an email with the next meeting, and Emily is part of this commission, and so she must have not been able to be here, but we'll give her a heads up that we would like to have a presentation and update the next time we meet. So with that, I will say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Always great to see all of you, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Teresa.
Bye-bye.